healing English story about how silence brings clarity, trust, and strength. Hi, it's me. I want to tell you a story, a quiet story, but one that changed everything for me. I used to speak too much, not because I loved my voice, but because I thought silence meant something was wrong. When things got awkward, I'd talk. When I felt nervous, I'd explain. When I wanted to feel seen, I'd say whatever came to mind. But one day, someone wiser than me said, "You don't need to speak all the time to be heard. Silence is power if you know how to use it." I didn't understand it then, but life has a way of teaching you slowly. And here's what I learned: 5 quiet truths that changed my life. There was a time I faced criticism at work. Someone spread rumors. Instead of defending myself, I stayed calm. I stayed silent. And guess what? They started to wonder, why isn't she reacting? Is she stronger than we thought? In my silence, they couldn't predict my next move. They lost focus. I stayed grounded, and in the end, truth spoke louder than noise. I remember a moment when I had to finish a big project. Everyone was distracted, talking, multitasking. I chose silence. No music, no phone, just me and my goal. In that space, I found focus. I entered a flow, a kind of peace that only silence can bring. And I realized silence isn't empty. It's where focus lives. In meetings, I stopped talking just to fill the space. I listened carefully. Then I spoke briefly, clearly, and people listened. One colleague told me, "You speak so little, but when you do, we all stop and hear you." That's when I understood. Silence doesn't hide you, it highlights you. In conversations, I used to talk about myself too much, trying to be interesting, trying to be liked. Now I ask questions, and I listen, really listen. When people feel heard, they feel safe, they open up, and that's when real connection begins. I've built friendships, partnerships, and trust, not by speaking more, but by listening better. One day, I was offered a job. The salary wasn't what I hoped for. Instead of saying yes too fast, I paused. I stayed silent. The silence felt uncomfortable, but powerful. And then they spoke again. "We can actually offer you more if you're considering." Silence gave me space. It gave them room to think again. And it gave me the upper hand. Final chapter. Silence led me home. I no longer fear quiet moments. In fact, I create them every morning with a cup of tea, every evening under the stars, because now, in that stillness, I hear myself clearly. My dreams, my truth, my strength. And you listening to me now, maybe you've been afraid to be quiet, afraid to be misunderstood, afraid to disappear. But let me tell you something. You don't disappear when you're silent. You begin to appear to yourself. Silence is strength. Silence is strength. Silence is focus. Silence is confidence. Silence is trust. Silence is you listening to your truest self. And in that quiet space, you don't need to prove anything. You already